Have you ever wondered why the ninth day of Av is the saddest day of the year? Tisha B'av, this is how we do it.
So let's talk about Tisha B'av. Tisha B'av means the ninth day of the Jewish month of Av. There were two Jewish holy temples, each standing for more than 400 years. They were destroyed about 500 years apart, but incredibly, both of them were destroyed on the very same Jewish date, the ninth of Av. So this has become a day of mourning for the Jewish people.
As an architect, I've always been fascinated with the Holy Temple because it's a building. But it's a very special building because at the time that it was existing, it was really the focus of the entire Jewish world. So it was destroyed by the Romans, and I guess to understand the immensity of the building, that here we are 2,000 years later, and we haven't forgot it. So you can imagine when it was living, how important and beautiful it was, that 2,000 years later, we're still mourning for it. So it will be rebuilt, and of course, as an architect, I hope to have something to help out in the process a little bit.
They tell a story of a man who saw a Jewish man sitting in mourning. He was sitting on the floor. It was Tisha B'av. He wasn't wearing shoes, he wasn't eating, he looked uncomfortable, and he said, "What's the matter? What happened?" He said, "The Jewish temple was destroyed." He said, "Really? I didn't see it in the paper or on television. I heard nothing about it." He says, No, it happened 2,000 years ago." So he answered, "If you're still mourning that 2,000 years later, certainly that you will see the rebuilding of the temple. If something bothers us to such a degree that we still mourn it 2,000 years later, it is only because it is so important to us that we will see the rebuilding of it."
And where's the Bet HaMikdash located?
The Beis HaMikdash, I think it's well known that it's in Jerusalem on the Temple Mount. But exactly where in the Temple Mount, if you don't mind, I can show you a picture here, actually. This is a drawing, a contemporary drawing of the Temple Mount as it exists today. You see the Kotel, the Western Wall, is down here. And this is what's known as the Temple Mount. It's 36 acres of property in Jerusalem. Probably the most famous piece of 36 acres in the world. The Temple Mount obviously was a hilltop, and of course it was not totally flat. So when Herod, during the time of the Second Temple, expanded the whole area, he built a huge wall around the Temple Mount, flattened the top area. Like I said, it was 36 acres. So the western wall that we know today is the retaining wall of the mountain. It has a tremendous amount of holiness in itself, but it was not the temple itself. The temple was part of the courtyard that was on the Temple Mount above.
Some of the laws of Tisha B'av are similar to the laws of Yom Kippur, in that we do not eat or drink for a 25-hour period. We do not bathe, use perfumes or makeup. We do not wear leather shoes, only sneakers or slippers. As well, we do not practice marital relations during this 25-hour period. We refrain from doing anything that brings joy on this day, and therefore, incredibly, we do not study Torah on this day, because the study of Torah in itself is a source of joy. Historically speaking, it's fascinating that the expulsion from Spain, the Spanish Inquisition, also took place on Tisha B'av. As well, the First World War, which was, of course, the precursor for the Second World War as well, started on Tisha B'av. That's the day that Duke Ferdinand was assassinated. The rest of the fast days, besides Yom Kippur, begin in the morning. You fast only during the daylight hours, whereas the fast of Tisha B'av, as well as Yom Kippur, begin from the night before. It's a full 24, 25-hour fast.
Now, the temple was built out of solid stone, and big, huge stones that weighed many, many tons. And they were the construction is known as dry construction, meaning that the stones were placed on top of each other without the help of mortar or any other connecting material. And how did the building stay, and how did it last? Right? In fact, 2,000 years later, many of the stones are still there because of the sheer weight of the stones, the sheer weight of the stones. And this building was not like any other building in the world. It was testified by in Roman history as well as Jewish history that it was extremely famous throughout the world, and it was very unique throughout the world. So that's a little bit about the building itself in terms of building. I would just like to show you a little sketch that I drew because I knew you were coming today. This was the wall around the temple, around the Temple Mount, let's say where the western wall is, and where this little fella is down here represents the road as it was during the time of the temple, which surrounded the Temple Mount. The kotel would be something like here. That would be the level of where the kotel is today. This vertical line over here represents the wall, the face of the Heichel building, which was the main building within the temple complex. And this little red guy over here is about a 5.5, 6 foot fellow. The building itself was about 160, 170 feet high. That would be, I don't know, maybe about a 15-story building, let's say. It could be seen by travelers coming from all over the world. It was spectacular. If our listeners, as they're driving down Bathurst Street or any street, when they look at an apartment building, count up around 15 or 20 stories. And it gives you a feeling for the enormity and the immensity of the building.
This is Esther Ben Behe with The Deed, and that's how we do Tisha B'av.